The heavens are telling of the glory of God. Look up and seek his wisdom from above.
Welcome back for part 2 of this study on Isaiah 7:14. If you didn't start with part 1, I hope you'll go back and pick it up. I've put a link right up here for your convenience. Let's zoom out a little and look at what's going on in chapters 6 through 11. Beginning in chapters 1 through 5, these chapters introduce us to the condition of God's people and the hope that still resides within this seemingly hopeless nation. Chapter 6 presents the call of Isaiah to prophesy to this rebellious nation. Although the first 5 chapters contain prophecy, it is, in my mind at any rate, more of an introduction. After the description of Isaiah's call, we do not move to his very first work as a prophet. This book is not in chronological order. Isaiah had already been at work during the reigns of Uzziah and Jotham before we come to this prophecy during the reign of Ahaz. We're not specifically told why we have this jump, but I believe that what we find in chapters 7 through 11 seems to point the way. The difficult times on the horizon and the specific prophecies of hope become an excellent beginning point for this amazing body of prophecy. In Isaiah 7, Isaiah is instructed to go to Ahaz with a prophecy. It was an assurance that Syria and Israel would not prevail against Judah, over which Ahaz was king. God then makes an offer to give a sign that all this was true. He says, "Ask a sign for yourself from the Lord your God. Make it deep as Sheol or high as heaven." But Ahaz said, "I will not ask, nor will I test the Lord." Ahaz's refusal to ask for a sign is significant. For now the sign God gives is not to Ahaz, but generally to the house of David. Now, I don't want to zoom into this verse yet, so let's just keep moving. Ahaz didn't ask for a sign because he didn't want the Lord's help. We already know that Ahaz is looking to Assyria to be his savior. As we continue, the prophet tells Ahaz, "And it will come about in that day that the Lord will whistle for the fly that is in the remotest part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. And they will all come and settle on the steep ravines, on the ledges, on the cliffs, on all the thorn bushes, and on all the watering places." Isaiah 7:18 through 19. The very nation Ahaz is hoping will save him is going to bring great destruction. Chapter 8 repeats the assurance given in chapter 7, verses 8 through 9. Isaiah was to beget a son whose very name would indicate how swiftly Syria and Israel would be destroyed by Assyria. Chapter 9 now gives hope for those who were the first to feel the sting of Assyria. It is a promise of a light that will shine and becomes apparent in the child who is born in chapter 9 and verse 6. It's difficult to doubt that this is the Messiah, and his name has a haunting connection with the child of chapter 7 and verse 14. There the child was God with us. Here, among his names, is Mighty God. From this prophecy, Isaiah quickly returns to the invasion of the Assyrians in verse 8. All of this is due to the wickedness of God's people. Chapter 10 begins with a description of that wickedness, but then turns against Assyria for its evils. Assyria would be the means by which God would punish Judah, but its wickedness would arouse God's wrath, and he would punish Assyria with an even greater foe, namely Babylon. Now we come to chapter 11, where a shoot springs from the roots of a nation cut down. This was prophesied back in Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 13. A 10th portion is left, and it is likened to a tree stump. Although cut down, it will spring up again, and that passage says, "The holy seed is its stump." And here we have the one prophesied who will come forth, and it is quite obvious that this is about Jesus Christ. Well, we're out of time, but we'll zoom in a little more in our next video and get a closer look at that immediate context in chapter 7. In the video after that, I'll present what I believe the great promise of the Virgin with Child refers to. I hope you'll join me for those studies.